Hello, welcome to Movies I Love with yours truly, Nomfanelo Malloy. So today I will be talking about the film Hard Target, which is a 1993 action thriller film. It's directed by John Woo, who's known for films such as The Killer and Face Off. The film stars Jean-Claude Van Damme, Lance Henriksen, and Yancy Butler. So I decided to talk about this film because this year is the film's 30th anniversary, back in August. And also, too, by the time this video came out, John Woo's comeback American film called Silent Night will be released in theaters. And I have not seen that film as the time of the recording, but I do plan on seeing it. So, back to Hard Target. So, I find it's a fun yet intense action thriller film with some cool action scenes, of course, because, just John Woo. And also, too, the performances are great and all that stuff. And also, too, it's funny at times, which is quite unexpected. And I don't know, like, how, in terms of John Woo's American made films that he directed, I don't know where the majority of people would rank Hard Target amongst that list. But for me personally, I find it's my favorite film of his in terms of the American made movies that he directed. Because I found like with the other films, particularly with the later films like Face Off and Mission Impossible, got way too cheesy, and and yeah, did I find this one? Of course, it has that cheesiness to it. It's over the top at times, which I enjoyed, like in this case, and yeah, like that's pretty much my quick thoughts on Hard Target. But I do want to say, in terms of his overall filmography, I'd probably say Hard Boiled is my favorite. Now, to be frank, I have not seen a lot of his earlier works prior to Hard Boiled, mainly because of availability in Canada where I could watch it and all that stuff. But I do plan to watch his previous films at some point when they become available to me in whatever platforms become available. So now let's go to why I love Hard Target. So we have to talk about the action, of course, because it is an action movie. So I love how the action scenes here. I mean, no surprise if you've seen any John Woo movie. They are quite the spectacle, of course. I mean, it is kind of grounded in all that stuff, but they're still spectacles. Um, and in ways of how like it's choreographed and the way it's shot, like resembles like a ballet, like or an art, you could say. And I watched, I think, a video from the YouTuber Accented Cinema where he talked about Gun Fu, essentially how John Woo created Gun Fu with the double guns that the characters would use that, happened to be popularized when other films started to use that. So we definitely do see a lot of Gun Fu in this movie. And I would say, in terms of action scenes, I would say the warehouse sequence, which is the final action sequence when they enter the abandoned building, I would say that would be my favorite action sequence of the film. But they're all great in their own rights. Yeah, also, too, no surprise, we see the John Woo trademarks, of course, and particularly the doves are the staple here of his trademarks because we see the doves flying around when Chance is there, particularly when he is looking for the missing tags from Bender. And it was hilarious how they did it in the film, where one of the doves simply just pointed with their mouths towards the tags where they were hanging. I thought that was hilarious. And also to a moment during the final fight sequence when he is going after Fushan. He's like flying up in the air, and then we see all the bunch of white doves flying around him, which is hilarious. Like, and I do hope with Silent Night, the doves are there at some point. Hopefully, I'll be disappointed if there are. I mean, I would understand it, of course, but I'll be disappointed if the doves are not in the Silent Night movie. All right, back to this movie and the double guns I was just mentioning with the gun fu that is there too as well, and the back to back when Chance and Van Cleave kind of do their standoff during the final fight sequence. Also, too, Chance as a hero is a highlight. So his character is supposed to be homeless, which I don't buy necessarily, but maybe like on the brink of homeless, but not like poor where he has to rely on shelters, at least as far as I could tell in the movie. But anyways, so I like how his character has morals. So we see like in the film with the homeless people, like they are willing to do like whatever it takes to get out. Some at the point where it probably questions their morals and all that stuff. So we see like when Natasha discovers the how can I say it, like the salacious flyers from Bender's belongings, where apparently they people are paid to pass these flyers around. So yeah, we see like with some people like they're that desperate just to get money to survive either for the day or for the week or whatever. So with Chance, it's interesting that when Natasha like offers him $100 without saying why, he said, "Oh, the why matters essentially," like which is nice though because he has integrity, obviously. And clearly, as a hero, he has the skills, as the action hero. So we first see this when he defends Natasha from the thugs outside of the diner. And I do want to say for that particular scene, it's kind of funny that before he starts kicking ass, like he looks like he's about to unveil something from his hip, which shows like his leg. Like we thought, oh, maybe he's carrying a gun, but nope, there was no weapons. And then he starts going at it towards the thugs there, which is interesting. And we have to talk briefly about the hair. Now, because it's supposed to be a mullet, but I feel like in ways it's like a half mullet on the top, but at the bottom it's something else. It looks like a wet, scrungy look. I don't know what's happening there, but his hair, I mean, it's quite out there, but I guess it's a staple for the character. And let's talk about Fushan and Van Cleef as the villains. I like how they're actually villains because we see with them, they essentially recruit, I guess, these wealthy clients where they essentially use homeless people, I guess, that have military skills or related skills, essentially for sport to be hunted. Where, like, I think if the homeless people, if they end up going to a certain destination, they get to keep the $10,000 that's in the belt that they carry, and that's quite interesting for those two to be running. And apparently they did this all over the world, which is intriguing. But I guess in New Orleans or New Orleans, I don't know. I guess there's different pronunciations for New Orleans, but but yeah, clearly it's quite different from how they were operating it before. Both characters are quite over the top. So Fushan, it's like every time when he sees someone fail at their job, like I guess, overreacts. Like, so for example, when Eliza shoots the client during a hunt when they're at the cemetery, so Fushan, he just decides to kill the client because I guess what, no witnesses, I suppose, but that is quite hilarious. And with Van Cleef, he particularly likes to intimidate Randall. So Randall, he essentially recruits the homeless people to participate in those games. So there's a moment when Van Cleef, he first he like karate chops Randall to wake up, and then he cuts like looks like a tip of his ear with scissors, which I just never knew was possible. But anything is possible these days. But yeah, they're quite fun to watch in this movie, and I appreciate the villains being villains. Also too, Duvet, like he is quite a vibe in this movie. So Duvet is Chance's uncle that he, so I guess Duvet raised um Chance in the Bayou, and he loves the Bayou Duvet. Like he lives that carefree life and always drinking, I don't know if it's moonshine from the jugs he drinks and all that stuff, and he always carries the bow when he's going after the bad guys. And there's a moment where like he gets stabbed by an arrow by Fushan. We think, oh, he's dead, but it turns out, oh, he's alive. And he's upset that his flask is broken, but he's appreciating that he's alive. And let's talk about Natasha and Detective Mitchell. I thought both were fine in this movie. So Natasha, her deal, she's trying to find her father, but unfortunately, her father got killed during the opening sequence of the movie, which was an intense sequence. And with Mitchell, it seemed like she didn't really cared about her job at first. I don't know if it's because of the police strike, which I will talk about that later. But it seemed like after when she sees Binder's tag with the piercing, that's when she decides to take her job seriously, and it's unfortunate that she gets killed in the line of duty in this movie. And so, a few moments here, I'll mention briefly the snake. Oh my goodness! Like when that snake was going to attack Natasha, I was like, "Whoa, that looks scary." But luckily, Chance saves the day and decides to use that to set up a trap for the bad guys. And then when that unveils, that was just like a whoa moment for me. And Fushan plays the piano. I feel like it's a stereotype at times for bad guys to be either listening or like playing either classical music or some sort of instrumental music and all that stuff. And he's like wearing white too, and I think like his house, I believe, is like very elegant, like painted in white and all that stuff. So he lives that life absolutely for Sean. And lastly, the moment before Chance strikes at Fushan at the end, he tells Fushan hunting season is over before he kills him, which is sweet. Now, let's get on to the criticisms. So, I just have a few. So, firstly, like, were the police actually on strike? Because before we are introduced to Detective Mitchell, we see like the police are striking, but then throughout the movie, we see at times that there are some police, they do their job. So that part was just unclear to me, and also made me wonder like why Detective Mitchell is at work. Like, or is the police on strike only applicable to like the lower ranking officers, like the patrolmen? I wasn't too sure with that aspect of the movie. Going back to Mitchell, it just did not make sense for her to put her, looks like a funnel cake, whatever kind of cake it was, inside the drawer with the candle. I'm like, she could have just put that to the side, but I guess they do that for humor, I suppose. But it just did not make sense. Also, too, like when Elijah's trying to escape from the bad guys, nobody decides to help him like in the streets though. And plus, I'm sure the people see all these cars and all that stuff. But then once he gets shot, that's when like the people are, are of course shocked when that happens. But honestly, I felt like they could have done something. And then also too for the bad guys, like why kill him out in the street when there's people around? Because you're leaving witnesses. It's just that does not make sense because they could have just find another opportunity to kill him without any people around. And lastly, it didn't make sense because for Duvet to shame Natasha for killing a bad guy, because I mean, you do what you got to do. It's a fight or flight situation where either he was going to kill her or she was going to kill him. So I didn't get for Duvet to shame her and all that stuff. It just felt sexist to me. So that's pretty much all what I have to say about Hard Target. What do you guys think about the movie? Also, too, what's your favorite John Woo movie? Do you guys plan to watch Silent Night when that comes out in theaters? Let me know in the comment section. So I'll put the link in the description of where you could find this movie in your preferred platform. Also, too, you can find link to my socials in the description. And I just want to say thank you guys so much for tuning in, and I will catch you on the next one.